Alright, hey guys. My presentation is going to be on virtual reality software and kind of virtual reality in general, but I'm going to try and keep it interesting. I'm not taking a kind of what is VR really about look at VR. I think we kind of all kind of know where VR is going and you know the general gist of what VR is doing today. So I kind of wanted to have a look at a couple of other things to do with VR. So, first of all, I kind of have this preconceived idea about VR. I don't know where I kind of got it from, but I kind of feel that VR isn't really that innovative, or the technology isn't as advanced as it's being marketed as, which I guess is kind of like it's marketing. It's gonna make sense. But yeah, my kind of thoughts going into this project is really, is it that advanced? Like, are we being sold really old technology? Are the technologies used to develop in VR, so not just the hardware, the software as well? Is that innovative? Has that been like updated in the past couple of years? So that they were kind of my thoughts going in. My kind of methodology about going and finding out about that kind of stuff was going in the history books, seeing what the first kind of instances of VR are, and as we can see here, got that Virtual Boy, which, if you don't know, was actually a Nintendo product. And I think you had to put it up on a stand, and it only showed the colors red and black. But that's kind of the first gamified, the kind of version we know today of VR. Before that, there was of course the Sensorama, which I'm pretty sure Chris in my university has touched on. Um, but yeah, I kind of want to look at the history of VR and compare it to now and kind of look at comparing it to the future. So the history of VR we've got here, oh my gosh, Oculus wasn't the first weren't the first company to do VR. There was the Sensorama, which was made by a whole bunch of different people back way back when. Um, but yeah, you can see here there's a kind of timeline. The first Oculus Rift prototype was made in 2010. That's kind of when shit got real for for virtual reality. Everyone kind of jumped aboard the hype train, which, as you can see, is a big old gap between 1995 and the Virtual Boy. So people jumped again on the hype train leading up to what they thought would be a lot of new and advanced technology in VR. But you can see here the kind of the first technologies that uh, VR was kind of using. Um, but yeah, so I want to look at the history. This is the current implementation of the different development kits and development software. It's really unbelievably difficult to find pictures of any development or editing kits used by like the early VR technologies and applications. So like the Virtual Boy, obviously, I like it won't have a visual coding or visual development kit like this, Unity and Unreal. But there was just like, there's just nothing at all. Um, so yeah, I just wanted to have a look at the current implementation, I guess. So this is Unity. This is a screenshot of the Unity engine editor. This is an application that, yeah, Angry Bots. It was being developed. What's the right term? Ported into VR. So it was already made as a demo for everything that Unity can do, and I think this is a screenshot of them updating it to support VR, which is a kind of it's an interesting process that I also wanted to look at is porting applications from that exist now into VR and kind of why like why would you do that? I don't know. Because I'm into gaming myself, so I can see all the time where games get updated to support VR. I just think it's interesting that, you know, companies spend time and resources on that when, people don't really have access to that much VR tech. But yeah, this is the Unreal Engine on the left-hand side. I'll talk more about these later because I will. But yeah, they're kind of current implementation of virtual reality development. So yeah, my research, Oh, I'm so sorry about this. Look, I don't have a whiteboard, so here we are in my shower. Well, not in my shower, I'm outside my shower. So yeah, I kind of wanted to look at these. These are the kind of main things that I wanted to look at. So I've already talked about the advanced nature and social perception. I'll talk about in a bit. Porting, development process. Yeah, so I wanted to have a look at the real world availability of VR because kind of, I don't know, I watch a lot of YouTube. I see a lot of people playing VR, playing with VR, not just games, but like different applications for VR. I see a lot of that, but I don't see it on shelves. I don't see any demos anywhere. I don't know, I just kind of, there's something mismatched in my mind about the availability of VR. So I wanted to have a look into that. And I, of course, drew the conclusion that it's just way too expensive for your average consumer. Um, but I have no idea. I literally didn't know anything about VR coming into it. Well, I have worked with VR before, but I didn't know the costs. I didn't know the availability. I didn't know the porting development process. I didn't really know social perceptions on VR. So I did know some things. Knew the basics kind of. I've done another project in VR. Actually, I assisted on a project in VR that was it was reviewing a ported VR game. So Grand Theft Auto 5 got VR support, not officially. So yeah, I worked on a project doing that. So that's kind of the only experience I have with VR. But yeah, I also wanted to have a look at the applications, the former and new and current applications of VR. So obviously the current application is video games. That's kind of dominating the market at the moment. Going to Steam, Steam is the big PC gaming platform. It's all VR, man. Everything's going VR, and I don't know why. I don't get it. Started with Elite Dangerous, and here we are with like all of the top 100 games going VR. Um, but yeah, I also wanted to have a look at education, see if there's anything in the education sector. That's the kind of next field I can, without looking into it, I can see VR going is education. And the medical field as well. Like, I don't know, visualizing a surgery before it happens was the kind of idea I came up with. If that hasn't happened already, gonna hit copyright on that. But yeah, and whatever the implications for VR are, the implications for the future. Um, if VR goes different ways, what are the implications for, I don't know, society in general? But yeah, they're the kind of things I want to research. And I've done a bit of research. That's just terrible, terrible slide. So I've done a bit of research now, and now I know. Um, so yeah, there's no wall of text. Don't worry. It was a joke. It was a meme. But yeah, yeah. Um, so a bit of analysis on real world availability. I think it has come down to cost. I've figured out that the Oculus Rift and the PSVR have, well, they haven't bought rights, but Oculus has bought rights to shelving their tech in JB, and that's the official, in quotations, official Australian retailer to sell the Oculus Rift. So if you didn't know before, these are the three kind of main competitors um, for VR at the moment, and they're all kind of geared towards gaming, as you can see with the you probably can't see, but there's an X, Y, and A, B button on the handsets there. But yeah, these are the three main competitors. So there's the Oculus Rift, which, if you didn't know, was bought out by Facebook for $2 billion. There's the HTC Vive, which is in collaboration with Valve, which is Steam, which is PC gaming. Um, and of course, PlayStation is PlayStation. They just do their own thing because they can. Woohoo, Sony. I didn't want to leave them out, but well, I do want to leave them out for a reason I'm going to explain, but I'm not going to touch on mobile VR. So, like Google Daydream and Samsung Gear VR, I don't want to look at those for a couple of reasons. And I think that's because the tech isn't really there. If you break it down, really, the Google Daydream View, or whatever it's called, and the Samsung Galaxy Gear is basically a glorified lens. Like, there's not much else to it. The only other tech is our phones, and I don't want to talk about the technology in phones because that's just like that's not really what the research project's about. So I wanted to steer clear of that, push more towards desktop, or I don't know, not desktop, high computational VR, where you're doing big data, using big amounts of data or a big application, not just, viewing a movie in VR kind of thing. But yeah, I just wanted to make sure I wasn't, you know, oh, you missed out on Galaxy Gear. What are you talking about? So they've hopefully cleared that up. But yeah, I basically drew the conclusion that they're not widely available because of how expensive they are. The HTC Vive, which is widely, regarded as the best VR at this point in time, is $1.4 thousand in Australia, AUD. But that's just the kit, so that's just all the hardware. That doesn't count the game or the application you want to use with the Vive. It doesn't count the cost of the computer, which, if you know anything about computers and VR and gaming applications, you're gonna need a big computer. You're gonna need a beefy, expensive, most likely computer, unless you can kind of scrounge parts. But anyway, so yeah, there's definitely other costs there that they kind of don't talk about much, especially on review sites and stuff. They say, oh, well, the Oculus is definitely the bang for your buck because it's only $870. But you still have to get a computer with both of these. So really, the cost difference, say like $1,500 computer, 3 grand, 2.9 grand, or 2.3 grand. Really, the difference there, because it's already a big number, it's not much. It's negligible. Um, PSVR, which is interesting to me because it's so below the price range of the other two competitors. It's interesting, but again, you still have to buy the console, and in general, which is 400. That's what the 400 to 529. The PS Pro is the 529, and then the standard is the 400. But yeah, you're still paying 900 bucks, which I guess is like way less than the Oculus and a PC. But I kind of drew the conclusion that you're still going to have to buy PS4 games only. You don't have any development um, freedom, so you can't develop anything. Whereas if you have a PC, of course, you can develop a VR application if you want to down the line. I don't know. It was interesting to look at the PSVR uh, price-wise and availability-wise because it definitely does outdo the other two. But yeah, that's where I kind of drew my conclusions about availability. Applications, oh my gosh, I know, right? Not gaming. But kind of the applications I found currently, so it's definitely being used in the military. Definitely, definitely being used in the military. Could not stress it more. It's in the military. You can see over here they've got the sensors set up. These are different. These look like night vision goggles almost, but they're not. They are VR kits. But yeah, they're used. I think they were also used for in the military for high stress improvisation scenarios. So if you're dropping into a war zone or something, it's what the soldier then does, which I guess is vital training. There's also engineering applications coming out, so actually being able to see a building before it's built and like inside in kind of an X-ray view um, is really important. Again, I don't really, I don't know if I can see this being widespread, especially not with the kind of standstill and limitations in terms of space that we have with VR right now. So of course they're in a box room right now, just viewing this on a big screen. If it's not photoshopped, which it doesn't look like. But yeah, I don't know. That's kind of a future implication I can definitely see, but I don't see it being widespread right now. But it is definitely happening. And the other one that I found, this is a really interesting one actually. This was a YouTube video about a VR application for the Oculus, where you could take apart like a full skeletal system and respiratory system, and you kind of just, I think it was more of a learning tool for kids more than anything. Well, not kids, maybe, teens, 20s in uni maybe. But I don't know, that was really interesting that it was really well made, um, production quality wise, because often like stuff like this hasn't been textured. It's probably a bit low budget. I think this isn't even this looks like mocap as well. Um, but yeah, it said it was VR. I don't know. Maybe he's in VR. I don't know. But anyway, there are definitely other applications for VR, either in the future or now. We're kind of on the brink of in the future, which I know is a bit of a paradox. Yeah, the implications. This is I don't know about this. The further I looked into the implications of VR, the more I just thought it was just random speculation. It was kind of just going like, oh, it could lead to this and this and this and this and this, and there was kind of no backing up with any kind of history or any data or any stats. It was all just kind of airy-fairy in the wind. But I will definitely mention Facebook here because I know that Facebook is definitely trying to do something with VR, and being Facebook, it's highly likely that a lot of people will buy in, um, which I guess is an implication in itself. Um, but yeah, I definitely see Facebook being a big player here. Um, I don't know if I can see, the Oculus or even the Vive or Google. I know Google is producing a standalone Daydream. That was announced at Google I/O not that long ago. But again, these are it's kind of just more of the same. Like, yeah, it'll be another Oculus or another Vive, maybe with a couple more features updated or better quality features. But I don't know. The more I looked at implications, the less interested I was because I don't know. It all just seemed up in the air. The social perceptions was really interesting. So I basically stole these from these I didn't steal these. These were quotes from critic sites about the Vive, I believe. Yeah. But these are really interesting. I thought this was a really interesting comparison of expectations and perceptions about VR. So this person's completely new to VR, and basically they love it. They're just all about it. They couldn't get enough of it. Go and try one for yourself. I made sure he wasn't like trying to plug the product. Wasn't a dev or anything. Um, but yeah, this dude was so about it, and this guy, or girl, I didn't get the username of this one. Um, it's the closest thing. I thought this was really interesting. It's the closest thing to having a holodeck in your home, and I'm pretty sure the holodeck's from Star Trek. Um, pretty pretty sure it's from Star Trek. Probably should have looked that up. Is it from Star Trek? Holodeck. Yeah, Star Trek. Um, so yeah, I don't know. I just found it really interesting that they're comparing it to a tech that they kind of grew up with. Because for me, I don't really grow up with any tech that was, I don't know, it's kind of Star Wars, but nothing now kind of lives up to any tech in Star Wars. You know what I mean? I do get the holodeck vibe, although I didn't grow up with it, so I don't really see the nostalgia. I don't get the kind of happy feeling of, oh my gosh, like used to watch this on TV as a kid. Automatic doors in Star Trek kind of feel. But yeah, I thought that was a really interesting comparison of perception in VR. And the more I look into people's perceptions, the more it just becomes, oh my gosh, it's amazing, you have to try it. And the more it is like nostalgia based, oh my gosh, we used to dream about this as kids kind of thing. Um, there's, of course, disappointment and people getting upsetty about, oh, it's not the experience I was sold, but I don't know. I think that's going to happen in every kind of industry. I'm probably going over here. How am I going for time? I don't know. I think I'm alright. As for my digital artifact, I am going to be looking at the development process of VR. So this is the Unreal screenshot I showed you earlier. So I'm gonna have a look at this development process, and I'm gonna not compare because I don't think it's fair to compare something like Unreal Engine 4 to I don't know Unreal Engine 2. It doesn't make any sense. But I kind of want to compare this to the perceptions of virtual reality development. Like, do people think that virtual reality is being developed in some like new tech lab kind of deal. Because I don't know, I think I almost thought like that. I guess I would have drawn that conclusion if I didn't know better, kind of deal. I don't know. I've developed in UE4 before, so I guess I kind of knew that it's more likely it's to be something like this. But yeah, for my digital artifact, I'm gonna have a look at the development process and kind of perceptions surrounding the development process because I think that's really important. That it's a really important aspect of VR that people don't really know about that much. How it's actually made and that it's like the process hasn't changed for years. But yeah, I'll definitely spread them around, put them on Twitter and the blog and my blog and anywhere else I can find. I'll put it on YouTube as well. It'll be hosted on YouTube. But yeah, thanks guys. That's my presentation. Whew.